Okay, it's 7:56 and we are back on the record.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. At this time, I would call our licensed professional planner, Robert Hudak.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, give us your business address.
Yes, my name is Robert Hudak, R-O-B-E-R-T. Last name Hudak, H-U-D as in David, A-K. And my business address is 1955 Route 34, Wall, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Mr. Hudak, can you please give the board the benefit of your academic credentials and professional license?
Yes, I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. All of my licenses are in order. I've appeared before this board before. I was accepted as a witness, I think it was 2023, if memory serves. I have been accepted as a witness at numerous boards throughout the state of New Jersey, on and on and on, and I'm a great person.
Thank you. Any objections from any members of the board of qualifying Mr. Hudak as a expert in planning?
Thank you very much, Chair.
Mr. Hudak, before we get into it, I just want to run through a couple of things with you. You have had an opportunity to review both the reports of Mr. Disco and Mr. Mistretta.
Yes.
And in preparation for today's hearing, you did in fact go out to the site and did a personal site inspection?
Yes, I did.
And you've also reviewed the master plan zoning ordinances for Springfield Township?
And the statute, yes.
Statute. Based upon all of your reviews and obviously the information that's been supplied to you, both through the testimony that you've heard tonight as well as additional information you have you formulated any professional opinions relative to this application?
I have, and if I may, I'm limited to 10 minutes by Mr. Merman, so I want to be quick and get into all of the topics we need to discuss. So, as you've heard tonight, we have before us a D1 use variance. Typically, with respect to D1 use variances, there must be a finding that the site satisfies the special reasons criteria as outlined in the Medici case. This includes a finding that the proposed use will promote the general welfare and that the property is particularly suited for the proposed use. I offer, however, that our application is one of those very unique cases, that narrow band of cases that can be classified as an inherently beneficial use. Now, the statute specifically defines what an inherently beneficial use is, and the courts have further opined on that. Specifically, these are uses whereby the nature of the use advances the general welfare purposes of zoning and site suitability because of the very nature of the use. And while not specifically mentioned in the statute, there is actually some case law, the Market Street Mission versus the Board of Adjustment of Asbury Park, is on point here that where the courts have held that food pantry, food kitchens, these type of uses are in fact inherently beneficial to the community. As you've heard through the testimony, we also are partnering with the Community Food Bank of, which is one of the largest food banks in the state of New Jersey. I think it is the largest, in fact. It's located here in Union County. So clearly there's a need, and we satisfy the general welfare purpose of zoning simply by the nature of our use. But with that said, with respect to any of these inherently beneficial uses, we must satisfy the negative criteria. And the courts have actually come up with a test known as the Sika balancing test, the case of Sika versus the Board of Adjustment of the Township of Wall. And it requires that the board balance the positive and negative criteria involving these inherently beneficial uses. So I want to go through that very quickly. I know the board probably is well aware of this, but the first prong of the Sika balancing test is that we must evaluate the public interest served by the inherently beneficial use. And in this case, obviously, the benefit is the community, the food insecure population of Union County and the state of New Jersey. And again, as we know, we've talked about the need for this use. We've talked about various food banks throughout the county. We've talked about other places, and we all know that there is been a severe need for these types of facilities, unfortunately, because of rising food costs and the pressures on families and individuals. So without a doubt, there is clearly a public interest here. And the second is to identify any adverse consequences that would generate from the use. As you've heard, we're not proposing any alterations to the site. We're not changing any of the buildings. We're not constructing anything new with respect to any of the structures or accessory structures on site. There's going to be no visible appearance of any construction occurring. The space, as we've heard, can accommodate the proposed use without any alterations or changes, so there's not going to be any construction disturbance on the site. Yes.
Before you go any further, we did do a handout?
Yes, we already took care of those handouts. I handed out the aerial of the site and also the, oh, I'm sorry.
Only because,
Okay, now you go to Jen now.
sorry, Jen. Sorry, Jen. Only because you're getting into descriptions and
Sure.
we have pictures.
Yes.
We figure the board would like some pictures to see
Yeah,
what the
let's-
interiors look like, what the exteriors look like.
Let's just
We'd like to mark.
describe them and mark them.
Sure. So the first handout
That was
is
the aerial.
is the aerial view. Mr. Bergen, would that be A1 presumably?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
go with A1.
No, A1.
Yes.
Whatever number it is.
Yes.
And A,
For the record, we're going to mark the aerial view as A1. Interior and street food views, which is the second packet of pictures, as A2.
yes, the aerial is actually just taken from Google Earth. It's not,
Thank you.
it's just showing the site. I know all of you are very familiar with it, or have a lot of familiarity with the site. But it gives you an idea of what's going on, where our use is, and we talked about the area previously with the prior witness. The second set of photographs are both interior photos of the site and some exterior photos that were taken by the prior witness. So they give you an idea of what the space looks like, what their intentions are. You talked about the commercial kitchen on the site. That's shown the, I'll call it the auditorium for lack of a better word. You could see the rear of the, I'll call it the parish house, where you can see the doors that will be used. It gives you some idea and flavor of what exactly the site operates like and what it will operate like with this use.
Hang on one second, Mr. Sorry.
Sure, sure.
So we have a,
We're not going to use the parking circulation.
okay, so that's gonna, okay. Okay.
If that was up there, I apologize for that one. Throw it out. And the reason is because, and I'll be very frank with you, like was questioned earlier, I used all the uses together in that, but since they're now not together, that parking calculation is null and void.
Okay, sorry.
So disregard that if that was on that pile.
Okay.
So A1 you've already identified, A2 you've identified as photos, a variety of photos. Those photos were not taken by you, but they were taken by Kristen.
They were taken by Chris, yes.
Okay, Chris, come on up for a sec. All right. You've previously been sworn. I just want you to state for the record that the photos that have been submitted as part of A2 were actually taken by you, and they have not in any way been altered.
No, I took these pictures last Thursday, and sent them out. So no alterations, but yes, I took them.
And do those pictures accurately reflect the way the property looks at this time?
Correct.
Thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Hudak.
Thank you very much. So you could see exactly that there is adequate space for this proposed use in the facilities as they are existing, and there will be no additional construction activity related to that. Now, we've talked a lot about parking and traffic circulation, as you've heard from your board professionals. We've addressed all those issues through the fact that we are altering the hours and such, which will actually lead me to the next prong of the SECA balancing test, which is that the board must consider any conditions, reasonable conditions, which might be imposed to mitigate adverse effects. And we've done that. We've looked at some of the ways that we can control the hours by conditioning the hours and limiting them to those Saturdays during those certain hours during the day. Similarly, we've noted that the uses during phase 1 and 2 will not be on the same day. So those sorts of reasonable conditions that can be imposed can, and it leads to the fourth prong of the SECA balancing test, where the board must balance the public interest in granting the variances versus the adverse impacts as lessened by the conditions imposed by the board, and determine whether on balance there will be a substantial detriment to the public good if the variance were to be granted. and only if the detriment is substantial can the board deny the variance. Based on the testimony provided, based on what you've heard tonight, I believe that the reasonable conditions do address any of the substantial detriments that would be created due to this application, and as a result, on balance, that the positive criteria, the general welfare being advanced outweighs any negative impacts, which are mitigated by the conditions imposed by this board. So on balance, when you look at the entire application, as stated by your professionals, it's a very good application. We've worked very hard to ensure that the issues that have been addressed tonight, that we've taken and considered that even before coming to the board and preparing an application, preparing a business plan that made sense. And on balance, that's why the board can approve the application.
Now, some of the conditions that you've heard tonight, and we've reiterated, are the hours of operation. You also heard some comments about the limitation to residents of Springfield. You've done some research in this area, case law and the like. Do you have an opinion with regard to that particular condition?
Yeah, I think that might be a little bit too limiting. In my previous life, I was a director of community development in a community here in New Jersey. There are grant programs that are available, but limiting it like that may be problematic in getting certain funding. Also, you have, as I understand, there are a number of the parishioners do not live in town. So I think there's other mechanisms that maybe we can use, such as establishing appointment times and only allowing appointment times. That may be a better way of addressing people coming to the site, and actually may be better than simply addressing it as only for the community, if you will, only the community of Springfield. And certainly if we're accessing food from other sites throughout the county as well, and if we're only addressing people in Springfield and we have to deny everybody else, that might also cause some problems too in making sure this is a successful operation. But like I said, there's other mechanisms I think that could be employed, such as the, if you will, registering and making sure that, there's appointments for people to come to use the site. That may be better at mitigating the traffic concerns that the board has rightfully brought up.
I have no further questions of this witness.
Thank you. Board members? Questions for Mr. Hudak?
I don't know if this question is for you or not, but I'll start with you. Somebody asked a question about garbage and dumpsters and things like that. The picture I'm seeing here shows 2 garbage cans behind a wooden fence. Is that the setup?
That is not the full extent of this,
Just
of
asking.
the garbage. There are receptacles within the building. I can call Chris back to tell.
No, okay, because this picture makes it look.
That's only for the outdoor storage of that.
Yeah, my understanding too is that this use as proposed, and I've seen in the operation of other food banks like that, they're not producing that much garbage. The school probably produces more. That's what again, it's anecdotal, it's what I've seen. But like Mr. Merman said, that's not the extent of their refuge operation, shall we say.
To pick up anything without, it's a very tight U-turn if you look at the image.
Well, the U-turn's on the property itself. So you would.
So you're not turning on the main street, you're not turning.
No, though, they would be going through, if I may, there is a driveway, and actually I drove down it tonight, in fact, before I came here. There's a driveway on site. If you look at the aerial photograph, there's a one-way next to the cemetery, and then you will use that to go down. It actually goes into a hollow. That's where you have the basement entrance to the parish house, and then you would turn around and go through the driveway that's along Route 78.
Can you identify which picture?
It's the aerial photograph.
The
I think
aerial
that's the best.
photograph will reflect it the best.
Yeah. Right.
You wouldn't be making the U-turn in the street at all.
You come out of there,
If I may approach.
yeah. I think we got it, but.
if you look at the area, you'll see the U-turn on the property itself.
I understand the concerns with the grants limiting food and you want to be community-based. My concern, and I think this is something we all talked about, is there needs to be some type of limitation. And I feel terrible saying this, but otherwise, I do think personally from experience, it's just going to grow exponentially. And the street is not going to be able to handle it. The church is not going to be able to handle it. Share Alliance isn't going to. You're going to be turning people away. So I think there needs to be some sort of, this moves forward, like a plan in place to help us. And if you grow to 20, 30, 40, great. Just how do we accommodate all of that?
If I may. So I think that's where you would have the appointment limitation come in. So instead of saying, oh, because you can have the same problem if it's all Springfield residents as well.
Right.
So I think if you did appointments and staggered them appropriately, you'd only have a limited number of people coming to the site. And that information would get out, how to do that, whether it's online, whether it's a phone or something, you know, some volunteer. But I think there's a better way of doing that and accomplishing that goal. Because I agree with you, that's the major concern is people backing up onto the street and the surrounding neighborhood. But I think if you limit it by saying, okay, we'll have 3 or 6 people, whatever the number may be, whatever that comfort
Yeah.
level is, then you're not gonna have 100 people backed up on the street.
No, and I think if, your bags are pre-made, they're pre-registered, they're alphabetized, whatever it might be, you can handle a flow of traffic, but I think it needs to be something that is planned.
Yes, I 100% agree.
So you said that there will be appointments, but there was also testimony that if somebody comes who's in need, who doesn't have an appointment, you're still going to give them food. So how does that balance?
Well, I think, and I don't want to speak on the operations point of it, but I think, like I said, and it's something that we can bring them up and have that conversation. I'm just saying to the board, if you're looking to impose a condition, be mindful of what condition you're imposing, so to speak. I'm only making a suggestion, in other words. Maybe there's a third way, a better way that the board can come up with that says, well, we can limit this and this is how we, can ensure that the traffic doesn't become a problem in the future. And again, to Mr. Merman's point, if we set that condition and there is a problem that we see, well, they're going to have to come back here. And ultimately, they may need to find another location. I can't predict that. In a way, I hope it's not successful only because it means we don't have food insecurity. But we do, and we live in that reality. So we want to make sure we're servicing the people that need to be serviced, at the same time being respectful of the community at large.
Has Share Alliance ever thought, and I guess this isn't a question for you, of another property? Have you done this anywhere before?
You gotta talk into the-
Sorry.
That's okay. You're still under oath.
We haven't considered that yet, because, we haven't even started to see how fast this will grow. But I do think, because this is already such a conglomerate, that it gives it much more option to do that. If there's that much need and we get that much buy-in from the community itself, that we could, if we had to move it to some other location, if we had to do that, then that's, we're serving that many more people, and we find a way to make that happen. Where that would be, I don't know. But, if we would get that, if we didn't need that, that would be fantastic. But if, 15 years down the road, that's something that needs to be done, well, then we've done our work well, and, people feel safe and feel that they can get help where they need it.
I think one option could be also limiting it to within the county, potentially. I don't know how that affects the grant purpose for,
That would be, and unfortunately, Mr. Bergen and I have way too much knowledge of grant programs, but that would be a much more broad statement, and it would probably be better in line with the funding sources, because the service area would include Union County, obviously, that would be everybody in Union County. So I don't think that's as great a restriction as just limiting to Springfield residents. The other problem too, and I did discuss this with my clients while we took the break, and we're thinking about these restrictions and limitations. If we restrict it to only people who live in Springfield, we're actually knocking out parishioners from this particular church, as well as potentially not being able to serve some of our other partners in the Share Alliance if one of their parishioners might need the services as well. So while we certainly respect restrictions, and I certainly believe that time restrictions are important, we certainly can talk about a restriction number of patrons during those hours of how many we can anticipate. It would not be the desire of Share to turn anyone away. That's kind of against the mission statement, which is why I believe that the statements have been made. If somebody didn't register, we would still want to give them food that day. And, you know, a one-time exception that they didn't register and we had enough food, obviously, but that's going to be the exception more than the rule. And one of the things that was extremely tedious to us in the preparation was trying to deal precisely with this. We recognize what the nuisances were going to be, right? And so the proposal eliminates as many of those nuisances as we can and the potential for those. So if the limitation is from this board, no more than 50 cars to be served in a 4-hour period, we certainly can understand that and can abide by it. If we find, however, that the need is greater, we can come back and we can say, okay, we're going to need to do this on Thursday nights for another 2 hours. We'd be able to try to figure out a way to serve the community and without overburdening the lot and the area by bringing in 200 people at a time. That's not the goal of this organization. It would be nice if they needed to turn people away, and we'd have to come back and figure out another way to do this. But for now, again, nobody's got a crystal ball. That's our problem. I'd love to have a crystal ball. I would have retired years ago.
It just seems to me that for the numbers that you've given us, and maybe not the kitchen, but for at least the shopping, the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, for that small amount to not be able to limit it to this community and expand it to Union County, it seems to me like we would run into an issue that we're trying to avoid, which would be like a detriment to the community with more cars, people who you can't turn away, more traffic in that area. So I think that instead of the board coming up with all of the conditions that we would like to place on your timing, your dates, I can run through a litany of lists the litany of things that we've talked about tonight, but the type of trucks, the no refrigerated trucks, how you'll accommodate people on the website, how you'll deal with the registration on the website, how you'll deal with registration per hour, how your phases will be dealt with, what dates they would be on, meaning I know that they would be Saturdays, but phase 1 would be the first Saturday, phase 2 would be the third Saturday, whatever it would be. I would like to see that in an operations, I don't know if it's a manual or some sort of operations documentation to us so that we can review it and make our decision based on that.
I have no issue with that, Madam Chairwoman. In fact, as we sit here, and some of you do know that I'm a former Board of Adjustment attorney myself, and it's always a lot easier when I wrote a resolution that the parties with the staff work through these issues. So given an opportunity to develop a more specific plan, I would like to work with both Mr. Disco and Mr. Mistretta, and we can put that together, and we will be ready to present that at the board's next meeting.
Excellent, thank you. We do have members of the public, though, who have been patiently waiting, and I think while you're working, while you take that into consideration and you'll come back with something, we should take into consideration everything that they would like to put on the record as well, so.
And we welcome the comments, and certainly if there's anything that would relate to what we're talking about, we're gonna make those notes, and when we come back, they'll be incorporated into the plan.
Thank you. All right, so first we're gonna, yes, well, I'm gonna turn to our professionals first, if you have any questions for the planner, Mr. Hudak. Okay, members of the public with questions for the planner. Questions based on the testimony that was presented by Mr. Hudak? None, thank you very much. Thank you. Anything else before I open it up to public comment?
I'm gonna reserve my right to summation until our next hearing, so that we can get the public comments and incorporate whatever we hear there in the, we'll call it a document, I don't like the idea of operation, but a document that we'll submit in conjunction with the discussions with Mr. Mistretta and Mr. Disco. But I do welcome the public's comment. I also believe that by opening it up to the public right now, that it's gonna make it a lot easier the next time around, so that you won't have to worry about me for another hour and a half, 2 hours.
Thank you. Okay, members of the public that wish to speak will come up one at a time. We'll swear you in, and you can make your comments. So, yes, please come forward.
Madam Chairwoman, can I just please remind the public to please speak into the microphone?
Yes.
Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your home address.
Natalie, Dawkins, Dawkins, it's 10 Forest Drive. So I just wanted to comment because it's based on the comments from some of the board members, there seems to be just a lack of knowledge or unfamiliarity with food pantries. And I want to give a background. I'm coming from a place of extensive knowledge. I worked with City Tribe in Elizabeth at the food pantry. It was a pantry situation where you would come in and get, you would choose what you like, and it was orderly in a line type situation. I did translations with the registration process there. My husband and I are also familiar with the founders of the Relief Bus, which is a literal bus that gives soup and bread in all 5 boroughs, Elizabeth and Newark. Jewish Family Services, and Summit YMCA, which also services Springfield, because Springfield doesn't have anything. And my case in point that I want to bring to you is one in Cranford, not Cranford Cares, it's called Faith Baptist Church, and it's located in a place that is right in between North and South Parkway exit entrances, and it's in the middle of where you have Linden one way, Clark another way, Roselle one way, and Cranford the other way. So there is a lot of traffic there. It is a small church. Second and fourth Saturdays, they have a food pantry from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. and it has frequent visitors. But here's the thing with people who have food insecurity, a lot of them don't have cars. So you're thinking about, like, you know, all these people have cars to come and get this food. Many times it's a situation where, and I'll use this church in particular because they have 6 to 8, if you're including illegal parking, 6 to 8 parking spots. Less parking spaces in their church, more on the street. 6 to 8, so half of what the little amount of parking that you have, say, or in comparison to them, that's double at First Presbyterian. So you see people come in, and those that do have a car park, those that walk up, or in our situation, right, in Springfield, it would be a bus that they would take in to get here. And they go down a stairs to where the pantry is. There's a room for shelf life food, and there's a room for perishables, like produce and such, meats, frozen meats and milk sometimes. And there are people, let's say, 7 to 10 people at any given time that are volunteering. There's a registration desk when you first walk in, so you don't have to pre-register. They register. There's 3 sheets of paper that come from the state of New Jersey, and in some cases, the county. There are different regulations and what you need to provide. How many people are in your household? What is your address? What is your name? Those are basic things. So they fill that out. They go down the line. They go, their number, they get a little number, the number's called, they go into the pantry, and there are people there saying, like, to your point, you know, different families have different needs. Oh, do you want some rice? Yes. You want this? Yes. Boom, 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 boom. They put it in a bag, they're on their merry way. So it's very, very efficiently run. It doesn't cause any sort of stall of traffic or lines wrapped around the building. I think at any given time, there are maybe top 20 people that are going through this process at once. Then those 20 people are gone. And another 20 people are in, and then they're gone. And this is in a period of 3 hours. And I've never seen them run out of food. But, you know, in the case that they do get grants for specific things, and they're open to Union County. So there are some cases where, like Salvation Army in Elizabeth, you're limited to Elizabeth. But in this case, it's a Union County thing. And Summit YMCA's case, it's a, you know, Springfield as well thing. So it's not, I wouldn't say that it's common to, just be specific to your town. There's a lot of Union, county-based ones in different counties in New Jersey. And also very rarely are the majority needing wheelchairs, but of course, if need be, you can make that work. It's more so on foot. So the efficiency is what I want to speak to, that it is a possible thing with this space that you're working with, and I would say that First Presbyterian Church has a lot more space to work with than Faith Baptist Church in Cranford. So that's my point, that I've seen it work, I've seen it in action, and I've seen it successful. And it's been going on, to my knowledge, at least, as far as I know, at least 2 years. Probably more, but going on now for 2 years. So yeah, that's all I want to have to say. Yes, people in Springfield need it, but being that the mission statement that was read and what community means, I believe that that reaches out to anybody who's hungry or whose children need food, or, you know, run the gamut, not based on religion in particular, race in particular, demographic in particular, just people that need help. And I believe that that's what my familiarity with Share Alliance wants to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Hi, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, give us your home address.
I'm Rachel Goldberg, RachelGoldberg. I serve as a superintendent of schools here in Springfield, and I'm going to give my work address for that reason, 139 Mountain Avenue. Thank you. So I'm here, as I said, in the position of superintendent of schools. I wanted to provide some points that may be helpful for the board in its knowledge as you're considering this. The first is just a firm data point. Last year on June 30th, I actually pulled up this data tonight to make sure that that I was tight with it, as we like to say. In June 30th, we had 2,234 students registered to attend Springfield Public Schools. Of those, 377 identified as requiring free or reduced price lunch. So as we're establishing a point of need in Springfield itself, that's a data point that might be helpful. Keep in mind, those are only children between the ages of 4 and 17, and so you can take that number, you can imagine another child in the household and or family members to think about what level of need we're looking at for families that might be insecure in Springfield. So just as a kind of point of reference there. This next piece is actually very specific experience that speaks to some of the questions that you offered this evening, which is in 2020 and 2021. So I think it was starting in September of 2020 through the spring of 2021, Jonathan Dayton High School was actually a site for picking up food groups, or food packages with the Summit YMCA. And we actually did it while school was even in session. It happened 2 Wednesdays a month. It happened between 9 and 11 a.m. And it was a very I would say, a very tight process. We had the food was brought in pallets on the truck. A truck was parked in the back of our parking lot. A limited group of people received notification by Summit of the availability of the food. They came in their cars. It was literally loaded in the cars, and they drove off. We did not, at any point in time throughout that process, have an issue with too many cars, with traffic blocking the parking lot, with people that weren't registered. We did not have people on foot. I don't know if the directions from the Summit YMCA to their list that they were serving was specific to say you can't be served on foot, but it was a very clear and tight operation. I say that to say, having watched that happen in Jonathan Dayton High School's parking lot, which is just across the way, we have a good parking lot, there was a very good process, but there's also a lot of knowledge in this community. So when we look at Summit, when we look at the food bank, the Community Food Bank of New Jersey, there's expertise on how to make these processes tight and clear. I'm going to also note something that I think is also really important that was said earlier, is that it sounds to me, at least from my perspective, that the board has asked for some limitations that may be limiting the scope that Share Alliance can serve. I had the opportunity to meet and work with a lot of the folks that sit on the Share Alliance 2 years ago when this conversation was started. I had the opportunity to tour the facility as it was being renovated. I also have previously worked in other communities that are very diverse, and I can speak to the need of families that are food insecure extend to families that keep kosher, to families that keep halal, that families that have specialized needs. And having a food pantry that recognizes that for the full community is really important. If we can allow for some of that variation in their plans to allow to serve all of Springfield effectively, I think that would really go towards what Springfield is. I'm proud to say I was just speaking to one of the members of the Share Alliance tonight that Springfield Public Schools is actually a microcosm of the state of New Jersey. When you look at our demographics, we look just like the state of New Jersey, whether it is the fact that we're about we're getting close to 18%, we're between 15 and 17% free and reduced priced lunch. Those are families with economic instability. We have a diverse group of families across the line in terms of gender and race and religion, and it's something that makes Springfield special. It really does. And I think the people that have spoken here and the ones I've had the opportunity in the communities of faith I've had the opportunity to meet with during my time in Springfield has just exemplified all that Springfield does. In Springfield Public Schools, our students every year do large drives to raise awareness for food insecurity. Our students did a domino of cereal boxes throughout Caldwell School. It was extraordinary. Pounds and pounds of food are donated by our middle schoolers and our high schoolers. We have all of our high schoolers are required to do volunteer work, and all of this is a part of the spirit of Springfield. And so However we can support providing this, I think is a great resource for Springfield as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Come on up.
Okay, my first, go ahead.
Yeah. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
Again, please state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address.
First name is Carol, C-A-R-O-L. Last name is Kaiser, K-A-I-S-E-R. Now, I've heard the board speak this evening. I'm not going to comment on the planners because they did a great job. Now, a lot of you mentioned serving Springfield. I've lived in Springfield for, gosh, over 40 years. And we are becoming a different town over the years. Now, you have the big buildings, as you mentioned, that are being built. Now, according to what I know of New Jersey, they have to provide low-income and moderate-income apartments available to the public. Now, there's going to be a lot of those residents who need a food bank. And it's going to be helpful for them to come to Springfield and say, look what Springfield is doing for us. Look what Share is doing for us. Look what Springfield's government is doing for us. And it's just going to be a nice feeling for these people moving in. And I'm sure the board knows this. So people are aware in Springfield, residents, like I said, the board probably knows this too, who are low-income families, and they do not have the money to buy food. And I've spoken to many people in Springfield about this, and they do want the pantry. So please, let's work together with Share, with our planners to get this done, because Springfield is a wonderful community. It always has been. The demographics are changing, so let's change with them and give it sincere consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Your name
Mark.
and your address.
Ginsberg, Ginsberg, and my office address is 820 Morris Turnpike in Short Hills. Good evening. So I am one of the principals of Patriots Way, which is the garden apartments, which are currently under construction. We are across the street from the church. We think we're a good neighbor, and certainly the church over the years, they've been wonderful neighbors. At the same time, I wear another hat over here. I have been a volunteer and a member of the board for Jewish Family Services in Elizabeth. For some of you who are familiar with Jewish Family Services, and we happen to have, and I've been on it for approximately 25 years. I've worked the food pantry as a volunteer among many of the other things that I've done there. And we serve approximately 1,500 to 2,000 people a month walking up for food. And it's open to all residents of Union County. And once the word has been out to the public over the years, I will tell you that they come there via Uber, they come there via bicycle, they come there obviously driving their cars, they come there taking a bus, some of them even take taxis. And it's fine. As far as traffic is concerned, I mean, on some days, they double park on Westfield Avenue. But again, that's a problem unique to the situation that exists over there. My point that I would like to make is that we feel very strongly that, or I'd like to urge this board to, in their decision, that they restricted for now just to the residents of Springfield. As this nice woman just spoke a few moments ago, there's plenty of families within Springfield that certainly food insecurity is a major issue to be dealing with. And I can tell you, as I said, I'm not an expert, but from experience, that when the word gets out that there's a food pantry, people will be coming from all over. And listen, we don't want to say no to anybody. At Jewish Family Services, the policy there is you can come once every 2 weeks. And what do you do when somebody comes and they come a week later? It's hard to say no. Sometimes you have to if they do it consistently, but we try not to turn anybody away over there. So my only message to this board is that if we could at this point leave it open to residents of Springfield and maybe even, as it was pointed out before, that, there are a lot of church members that don't belong to that don't live in Springfield. Well, then you could say either be a member of Springfield, live in Springfield resident, and at the same time, if you're a member of the church. That is possibly an alternative, and member of the church or any other affiliated churches with this particular church. I mean, that certainly would be an alternative, but it would also help because I think having a lot of people, and one of the other issues that we deal with is that while the food pantry in Elizabeth may open at 10 o'clock, there's people waiting out there at 8:30 in the morning. So that's something that I think the board should take into consideration too, that if the hours of operation, that people would not be allowed to congregate there much sooner than the hours of operation. And I thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening,
swear-
Mr. Bergen.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Your name and address, please.
My name is Omar Dawkins, Dawkins, 10 Forest Drive, Springfield. A couple of points were raised by the board, and I want to congratulate the proposal that was put together. I think it was very thorough. I have a unique perspective because I've been to many food pantries as a recipient. There are a couple of things that we should know about food pantries. The very nature of them is that there's a need, i.e., food is available. When food is not available, there are no people. If you say, we will start at 1, and you say nobody comes before 1, the word gets out, they do that. Because when people are in need, especially of food, they are the most cohesive, the most manageable people that you will find. The incidents that were raised before were incidents that were run during COVID and by the governmental organizations, but they're very separate from what Share Alliance and these experienced people are proposing. And I've seen it all over. Another thing was raised with regards to garbage. When people go up for food, if you say to that person, don't park on this side, they don't park there. When people are leaving, they make sure they clean up because they care. There's another benefit that the planner talked about that I don't think it was kind of nuanced. In the last couple of weeks, we've had a number of flooding events that have affected beyond the community borders. We've had rainfall from mountainside going down on 22 and affecting those below 22. Food is kind of a similar event. You cannot restrict it to one area because the far-reaching effects of communities is by nature outside of your community. So the benefit will be also outside of your community. Some of you may have remembered when we had the power cuts after the storm and gas was limited and people came from all over. When you have a place where people come normally for food, there's an inherent respect that's generated for that community. And dare I suggest, a nurture and a love for that community because people find sustenance there. And that's an intangible benefit that you will gain. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other member of the public wish to speak?
Do you swear or affirm the truth? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Thank you. State your name, please, and address.
Andrea Blair, B-L-A-I-R, co-president of Share Alliance, 37 Church Mall. We've heard a lot of people today, and I thank everybody for all their comments. I do want to say that in my spirit, I do not feel comfortable about leaving it just to the Springfield residents. Because basically our mission states is for everyone, and I don't want to turn anybody away. I do say that we can have where it is an appointment as we had put out. It is within appointment times, 1 to 4. You make sure this many come this time, this come that time. Unfortunately, I've been a recipient of such, me and my family. We were burned out of our home here in Springfield. And 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And Springfield rallied around us, and they gave us food, and they helped us, and they gave us shelter. I would hate to think, and on that end, we had to go out to other places too. We had to go to food banks to get stuff. We lived in a hotel for 3 months, and we had to go get food. And the apprehension that came in was when you would go and someone asked you, where do you live? Where do you live, right? So where do I live? Well, I live in a hotel. Well, you don't live in Elizabeth, so I can't give you food. But that's not what happened. They didn't care about that part. They didn't turn me away. But apprehension comes when you ask that person that information because they think they need to live there, so then they don't come, right? But then in your current town where you are, where we're here, during COVID and after COVID, because I was also a part of Springfield Unity Project, we helped people during that time. We collaborated with Antioch Baptist Church, and people would bring food. Pastor Hobbs would call and say someone's in need of food, but they don't want to tell you, their name. But I'll talk to them, get their name, go take them food. A lot of people, they're working, just families working, but they didn't have food. So if Springfield had a food bank, and we just took their information, they were just taking it, but saying that it's okay, they won't feel so apprehensive maybe if it's right in their town. So maybe if we make them feel comfortable and not be so concerned about, well, are you from Springfield? Because when you're talking about limiting it to Springfield, you do have to ask those important questions, right? And then you're gonna have to ask them for ID about who they are. That's when the apprehension comes in. If you're just asking, because we do it for our records to keep to know who's coming, yes, that's fine. But when you start asking for proof of where you live, because if you're trying to keep it limited to Springfield, that's what you're gonna have to do. Apprehension's gonna come in, and then they're gonna stop coming. I don't think that's what any of us would want here. Grace doesn't do that either. I believe that they open up to everyone as well. So I just think that's something else I hope that you guys think about, and think about the whole process and how good it would be for our entire community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Thank you. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Anthony Merrow, M-E-R-O. I had the good fortune of being in front of you all a couple of months ago. I am the president and CEO of the Atlantic Federal Credit Union, headquartered here in Springfield. We are a non-profit entity, as we explained at that time. We involve ourselves in many nonprofit endeavors, particularly in food insecurity. The credit union does. We provide what we can in terms of volunteer hours, donations, monetarily or through our staff, in providing you also food collections. And this is near and dear to our hearts because we see the food insecurity in the communities that we serve. For us, it's Union and Essex County. I can tell you we have partnered with Share Alliance for a couple of years now. We also work with St. Joe's and Elizabeth, some other institutions and organizations in Newark. We've even done work with Milburn Food Bank. I was amazed to find that there's a food bank at Milburn. What I've learned in all my experiences with those organizations is the amount of effort and work that they put in to meet all the conditions put in front of them and ensure that they play by the rules in order to support the communities that they serve. And I'm amazed by that, and it moves me because the good work that they do and that passion for people is amazing. And we've talked a lot about the conditions or the things that we need them to do in order to approve it. And they'll work. I've seen it. All those organizations work in those constructs that they're required to work in. And they are excellent in the logistics of their volunteers in order to ensure that they've met the conditions put in front of them. So I would say to you, my observation with those entities, I've seen them all work together hard to play by the rules, and I believe strongly that Share Alliance will, because I've seen it with the others in order to ensure that they help the people in their communities. I'll just leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address.
My name is Jeff Marquet, 48 Elmwood Avenue. 30 years ago, I was the pastor at the United Methodist Church here in Springfield, and I have immensely fond memories of serving in this town, working as the chaplain to the fire department for many years, working with other clergy, Rabbi Perry Rank, Rabbi Josh Goldstein, Rabbi Mark Malik, Father Bob Stagg, Reverend Jeff Curtis at the Presbyterian Church, Reverend Chuck Hale at the Presbyterian Church, Reverend Alston at Antioch Baptist. And I have a sense that that interfaith community continues to support one another here. And that is a beacon of light to the world. So you have something special here in Springfield. I'm now pastor at the United Methodist Church in Chatham, and for the last 5 years we have run a food pantry and a food distribution. And what I haven't heard here that I want to share as a word of encouragement is the immense benefit to a community that feeds hungry people. We have been so blessed to work with every school in Chatham, every worshiping community in Chatham, probably 70 or 80% of the businesses in Chatham, every scout troop, sports team, have all partnered in raising funds and collecting food for hungry people. We have seen children of every age find agency and self-confidence in their effort to collect food for hungry people. I don't know who benefits more, those who are giving the food and collecting the food or receiving the food, but it is a mutual blessing. In the Judeo-Christian ethic that we are trying to practice, we don't ask where people are from. If they are hungry, we want to feed them. I encourage you to support this effort. It will be a gift to the whole community of Springfield.
Thank you.
Good evening. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Thank you. State your name and address, please.
My name is Reginald Harris, Harris. My address is 58 Battle Hill Avenue, Springfield. I'm also a member of the Share Alliance. And I come to address one question. The question you asked first was, what is community? One of the things that Christ himself asked was, who is my neighbor? And when we think about that scenario in which he presented that question, it was in concern to a person who was being passed by on the side of the road after having been accosted. The first person that passed him by was someone of the clergy. The next, very similarly, and then finally someone who was actually outside of a community that would even associate with that individual. And he was a Samaritan. And when we see what he did, he stopped to bandage the wounds of that individual. And he gave him a safe place that he might be made well. We have come together not only as individuals, but we've come together also as different organizations within this community to try to address a need that we see has been great. We are also initially got a part of our support from the Springfield Interfaith Clergy Association, which included two of the rabbis from synagogues here in this community, neither of which unfortunately are still in those capacities today, but they were in strong support of what we are trying to do. Ultimately, it's been said that our mission as believers in the Lord is to feed those who are in need. It's been disheartening for me because I and my son, we manage the website for the Share Alliance. So we've been asked to take the site down because when we initially came before the board, we started getting traction because word got out. And it seemed then we were being accused of operating against the mandate, which said we shouldn't because we did not have this permission. But I still manned the calls. I still manned the emails. I still man all of the requests that come online. I wasn't able to write them all down today because they are more extensive than what is just listed here. But there are calls that come from within this very community that we live in, that we work in, that we serve in, that stand in deep need. And unfortunately, many times I believe it goes overlooked because when you go to sites which quote that, Springfield's median income is $177,000. When you see that the average income in this city is $86,000, you think that there's no need. But clearly, Sister Rachel came and gave a testimony of how many of even our youth that might be suffering. We tried to partner with her just to cover the months that the students aren't even in school because they get fed when they're in school, but they don't when they're not. And we have to feed these young minds because they'll be the ones that replace us. Sit in your seats one day as well, prayerfully, if they survive. But what we notice is that there is a growing need, and that need is even within our own community. And we want to be able to address that. But not only just from the need side. When we consider all the calls that we also get from those who want to make donations, but I have had to call and turn away. All those who also have wanted to volunteer, that I have to address myself personally to say no to. That's one of the things that continues to trouble me as a human being. And it doesn't really serve me well to have to tell them no. But that's unfortunately the position we've been placed in, because we want to work in collaboration with this community. We've struggled hard not to upset any member on this board. We've gone through great lengths to even secure new legal help because of past indiscretions on persons, because we did not want to alienate anyone within this community. We even thought of leaving this community to make room for new families to come here, you know? But we found a place here, and it's hard to want to go. And we came on the recommendation of someone who was very fond of being here. And that is what drove us and our family to come to Springfield. I've had 5 children to pass through the Springfield school system. My one son I work in other communities to build community fridges and to give public access to people who need food. At the same time, build skills for those same students so that they can also build careers for themselves at the same time. It's unfortunate that perhaps those resources aren't available in the same place we live. We want to expand our reach to those who are hurting, those people that are in need. And that is truly our effort, that's our goal, that's our desire, that is our purpose. And we really would love to have you guys be on board with that wholeheartedly to help us serve in that mission. Probably many of your own children have helped with the Springfield Unity Project. When Sister Rachel talked about all of the students that actually have to give of their time, my children had to put in hours. When we worked in conjunction with them just for one project, we had more than 40 of the high school students alone come out because they saw it as meaningful. In our own church, one of the issues that we have is trying to be relevant to our youth. Our youth don't see us as relevant because they believe that we're not doing anything. They want to hit the ground running. They want to have their hands on the plow. They want to move forward, and they have a different purpose in mind. As a former officer of 25 years, I can understand, fully the desire to make sure that our community is safe. I wanted to protect my children at all costs. And I was ever vigilant about doing so. I'm not deterred in that way in any respect. I still want to make sure those around me are safe. We took all of those things into consideration when we were building out this plan as much as possible. And we will definitely make sure that we're doing everything that we can to make sure that this community stays a good community. But part of being labeled good, which Christ Jesus himself didn't even consider himself to be, is that we do ultimately what we are purposed here for. And that is to serve one another. The greatest to command is love God with all your heart, mind, body, soul. I say body. That's not in Scripture. And strength. But to also love your neighbor as yourself. If we can't love that neighbor, that person who is part of our community, even when that community seems to extend beyond our designated borders, are we really loving? Now, a couple of different things. We all had to go to different community kitchens and see how they operated. How do these pantries operate? I went up to Grace several times, not only in an effort to share all that we could no longer give out. So all of the collections that we made, we took to Grace. And one of the things that we wanted to do was collaborate with them to make sure that any of the residents here in Springfield would be directed to us once we get certified to do the work. So some actually already heard of us, so those were some of the calls that I actually had to turn away. But one of the things that Grace does do is they did make it for their residents. And for the times that those persons come that aren't registered with them and they don't have their identification card that they actually gave out to each resident, one of the things they do is they have a person there that helps them to find resources in their community. Now, one of the things that has happened since we began this project is that Union County has joined the coalition with the state in order to make sure that food insecurity is something that is addressed. Now, as a result of doing that, they know that they had to try to designate which areas needed the most help. One of them was Elizabeth, which this young man just spoke about. And Elizabeth, as he so rightly stated, was also one of the most affected areas that need food security to be addressed. So we have greater residents there in that community that definitely need to be helped. And I understand your concern. If they can't get it there, they'll be driven here. One of the things that we tried to do with the website was try to tailor it so that we could layer those times that people come. And then again, in the first effort that we had in handing out food that was with a different organization, we managed it very well. In fact, we invited people from the board to join us at that time. But just to see how things would run. Our hope, our sincere hope, is that we get approved so that we can do the work that we've been assigned to do. And we, again, our other sincere hope is to be able to work in conjunction with you guys so that we don't burn a bridge. Even upon your recommendation the very first time, we took a back seat to do it your way. And that's why we want to work within the confines of how this process goes. I'm not sure if I can call it the legal system, but how this process goes. That's why we've been laboring for 2 years. We don't want to give up because the situation hasn't really changed for many families that are still hurting. The Bible says that out of the abundance of a person's heart, the mouth speaketh. I don't want to be more long-winded than that, so I'm just going to say thank you, good night, and thank you for hearing our deep concern tonight.
Anybody else? Any other member of the public wish to speak? Okay. Thank you.
Based upon the circumstances, based upon the discussions that we've had, we are at this time asking that this be carried to your next meeting with no new notice.
Madam Chair, you would need a motion to adjourn this matter to September 16, 2025, 6 p.m. in this location without new notice. Anyone in the audience, there will be no new notice, but the matter will be carried to our next meeting upon the motion passing.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Second? I'll second. Thank you. Mr. Shiwitz? Ms. Dotson? Mr. Hochstein? Mr. Weckstein? Mr. Furstenbaum? Ms. Naparano? And Chair Cohen? Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. We'll see you on September 16th.
The bells are.
Any other business this evening? Motion to adjourn? Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Thank you very much for your time.